The whistleblower complaint is now available, and there is a lot to it. Nothing fundamentally changes from what we've learned earlier this week with the transcript of the call and all that, but there are some things that we need to get clear. And so I'm gonna jump into a few sections of this. It's only 5 or 6 pages, so I would definitely advise that you go and read it yourself. But let's start off, and again, this is from the whistleblower who started this entire thing. The first section: in the course of my official duties, I have received information from multiple US government officials that the President of the United States is using the power of his office to solicit interference from a foreign country in the 2020 US elections. This interference includes, among other things, pressuring a foreign country to investigate one of the president's main domestic political rivals. The president's personal lawyer, Mr. Rudolph Giuliani, is a central figure in this effort. Attorney General Barr appears to be involved as well. So the beginning of that is just basically, what we know about the scandal. It's why it's a scandal in the first place. But while we already knew that Rudy Giuliani was an important part of this, and an important part in clearly differentiating what was going on from normal diplomacy and into the area of working for the personal political benefit of the president, that's why his personal lawyer is doing it. The fact that Attorney General Barr is involved in that is very bad news, not least of which for Attorney General Barr. So quick note: the only reason he's the Attorney General, the only qualification, the only reason he was chosen in the first place is because he made clear in a letter that he made available so that Trump would see it, that he does not believe that the president falls under the purview of the law. That's it, it's as simple as that. There's nothing else, nothing ideological. He was set to protect, he was put there to protect the president and to at least allegedly get involved in his criminal actions himself, which is probably why headlines like this are coming out. Justice Department rejected investigation of Trump phone call just weeks after it began examining the matter. So the complaint is launched at the next level. It is considered to be credible, so the Justice Department has to investigate it. They conducted no investigations and they quashed it as fast as they can. And consider the conflict of interest there, that the Justice Department under William Barr squashes an investigation into a scandal that implicates William Barr in it. I mean, that is on some of the headlines, as you can see, but not nearly enough of them. This goes to the top of the Justice Department as well as to the White House as well. So how wide is this? How much did people in the White House know about this? That is in the next section. The White House officials who told me this information were deeply disturbed by what had transpired in the phone call. They told me that there was already a, quote, discussion ongoing with White House lawyers about how to treat the call because of the likelihood in the officials' retelling that they had witnessed the president abuse his office for personal gain. So it is all well and good for the White House to put out talking points now saying everything he did was by the book, everything was fine, but we now know that at the time they were thinking this looks really bad. We really need to come up with something to stop this from becoming politically damaging to the president. And even more importantly, one of the biggest takeaways from this, they did find something to try to hide it. Take a look at this. In the days following the phone call, I learned from multiple US officials that senior White House officials had intervened to, quote, lock down all records of the phone call, especially the official word-for-word transcript of the call that was produced, as is customary, by the White House Situation Room. This set of actions underscored to me that White House officials understood the gravity of what had transpired in the call. So first of all, there is apparently a word-for-word transcript somewhere, hidden somewhere, I don't know at this point, but they knew that this was bad, so bad that they needed to control access to this information. So White House officials told the whistleblower that they were directed by White House lawyers to remove the electronic transcripts from the computer system in which such transcripts are typically stored for coordination, finalization, and distribution to cabinet level officials. So normally there is a process for this and it is stored somewhere. It's not publicly available or anything like that, but it's not too hidden away, not too secured. In this case, things were different. Instead, the transcript was loaded into a separate electronic system that is otherwise used to store and handle classified information of an especially sensitive nature. One White House official described this act as an abuse of this electronic system because the call did not contain anything remotely sensitive from a national security perspective. Later on in this complaint, they say that while it didn't include anything that was potentially damaging to national security if it were to come out, and thus it's really bizarre that you're putting it in this like especially hidden away server, there were things that were politically damaging. And in fact, this was not the first time that they had used this hidden server to hide the details of calls that were not damaging to national security, but damaging to Donald Trump personally. So let's just take 1 second to acknowledge that the president, who has not stopped talking about Hillary Clinton's hidden server for years now, in fact brought it up on that call with the president of Ukraine, is now using a hidden secure server to hide his telephone calls because he doesn't want you to find out about it, because he and the people around him know exactly how bad it looks. So that's a little extra layer of irony on top of everything that we're dealing with right now. Now, in terms of the pressure, the pushing that we heard about yesterday, that seems to have been pretty clear at the time. During the same time frame, around the time frame of the phone call, multiple US officials told me that the Ukrainian leadership was led to believe that a meeting or phone call between the president and President Zelensky would depend on whether Zelensky showed willingness to play ball on the issues that had been publicly aired by Mr. Lutsenko, that's the investigator, and Mr. Giuliani. So they don't know exactly how it was that they got that understanding, but it was apparently common knowledge. And a transition advisor for Zelensky from the time says, no, they understood there were not going to be talks with the United States. There wasn't going to be cooperation or aid from the United States unless they made clear as a prerequisite that they were going to work on these issues of corruption. And I'm going to give some advice to future despots. If you want to hide your activities under the guise of supposedly being worried about corruption, first of all, don't work hand in hand with some of the most corrupt regimes around the world, selling billions of dollars of weapons to the Saudi Arabian government, being close friends with Duterte. These are some of the most corrupt people in the world entirely. But also, if you're gonna have that phone call and bring up corruption, try to come up with at least one instance of it that does not work to your personal political gain. The only corruption he talks about, Donald Trump, who apparently now his #1 interest is Ukrainian government corruption, is the CrowdStrike server and Joe Biden. Personal interests of Donald Trump, not issues of concern to the United States. So it's a little bit see-through in that particular way. There's another section, sort of the same idea, but I want you to know that this is something that was very much out there at the time. Donald Trump expressed his conviction that the new Ukrainian government will be able to quickly improve Ukraine's image and this is underscored, complete the investigation of corruption cases that have held back cooperation between Ukraine and the United States. So if the "I need you to do me a favor" though wasn't a clear enough quid pro quo, the understanding at the time on both the US side and the Ukrainian side was, this is holding back cooperation. You need to work on these corruption issues that are all to my personal political benefit if you want cooperation between them and us. There's another section, we don't have time to go into it, but talking about how unprecedented it was that Donald Trump unilaterally, entirely of his own will, shut off the legally provided aid to Ukraine in advance of this telephone call. That weirded out even people inside of the executive branch at the time. But you're gonna hear a lot, obviously, about this whistleblower account. Just the important things to bear in mind. Rudy Giuliani is involved, obviously, we knew that, but now William Barr is as well. They went to seemingly unprecedented efforts to try to hide this information, specifically because they knew exactly how bad it looked. Don't get fooled by the talking points you hear on Fox News. And it was very clear at the time on both sides, Ukraine and the US, that if they wanted military hardware, if they wanted assistance and foreign aid, they were going to have to work on these very particular, very specific cases that Donald Trump wanted dealt with, and dealt with quickly since the primary is rapidly proceeding. All of this is obviously horrible. We'll see what the Dems actually do about it. Thank you for watching this clip from the Damage Report. For more content from the show and access to TYT Network members-only exclusives, go to tyt.com/Brooke. Wait, no, it's tyt.com/John. Go to tyt.com/John to sign up.